Hey there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a review for Avatar Fire and Ash, the third and what I think is best installment of the Avatar trilogy thus far. This one is kind of interesting because it doesn't do this sort of Avatar thing of the immersive experience of life on Pandora, which I do think a lot of people really like and respond well to. The day-to-day of Avatar or the water folk in Way of Water, spending 20 minutes with the whales swimming and stuff like that, was something that people really were turned on to, and while I like those moments, they make for the least rewatchable segments when you're trying to watch these films at home and not in the beautiful 3D sphere. This one kind of does away with that and is more purely story-driven. So if you're not in it for the story so much, I think you're going to have a hard time with Avatar 3, because the argument of more of the same can definitely be applied. However, I think it is the best of that same equality, and I liken it a lot to Return of the Jedi. But I think this is a movie that's both better than Return of the Jedi and takes the elements that work with that film and really ramp them up. By that I mean that with Return of the Jedi and with this film, the first act is really kind of concluding the open-ended conclusion from the previous film, so that the last two acts can really serve as the film that they're trying to make this time around and accomplish all of their goals therein. This is more of a closed, booked conclusion, and if this is the last Avatar movie, it absolutely works. Also similar to Return of the Jedi is that you have a new big bad that comes on the scene that is absolutely magnetic and steals the effing show, this time around played by Oona Chaplin, Charlie Chaplin's granddaughter. She comes in and is absolutely captivating in the film. My only complaint is that there's just not enough of her for how amazing she is in it. But then you have the film build towards a big, epic, grand final battle that's kind of evocative of the climaxes of both 1 and 2, but it's done better here and at a scope that is far more grand and epic. This feels like a conclusion. And it, also similar to Return of the Jedi, hits some emotional beats in that back half that really, really land hard if you're invested in this series at all. The Way of Water, I maintain, is probably James Cameron's worst movie, not counting Piranha 2. I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. I believe it made my top 20 of the year for when it came out. But it is, I think, his weakest film in a lot of sense, and it has to do with that open-ended conclusion. It has to do with the fact that Neytiri, who is such an amazing component of that first movie, kind of gets short shrift and has like hardly any scenes of substance in the second movie up until the ending. And they're introducing some of these new characters, and one of them just didn't play really well at all for me. That was Spider. Then you had one that was absolutely compelling, that played by Sigourney Weaver as a 14-year-old Kira, I believe her character's name is. She was absolutely compelling, and they kind of were doing stuff with her, and then she just kind of disappeared. I'm happy to say that this movie finds a balance for all of the characters that were introduced in that second one. You have the continuation of the storyline with, is it Lucao? The now oldest son of the Sully family, who continues to carry the story as well as Jake and Neytiri do. But then Kira has a lot to do here, and they really play with her storyline in very interesting ways. But Spider steals the show as well in his own right. He is fantastic, and his interplay with him and the Colonel is fascinating all the way through. They make good use of the villain in the Colonel as well, and I really appreciated that. But the best element at play is its commentary on racism that is sprinkled throughout the storyline in a couple of key parts. And it's not racism that you see depicted traditionally in films. This is more of a deep-rooted racism that's kind of inescapable when you have hate in your heart, even if that hate is fueled by blind rage or at things, reactionary things that have just happened in your life. There's some really interesting stuff, particularly going on with Jake and Neytiri in this film, that I think is powerful and emotional, and I really quite liked it. This, I think, as I say, is the best of the Avatar movies. It's not quite as streamlined as the first one, but it is building upon the qualities that that first one and second one laid to deliver what is the best experience as a whole for Avatar. That being said, there is the problematic elements brought in part within Avatar of the white savior Pocahontas-y story that I think come into play here in a different way that I'm not really sure how I land on it, and subsequent viewings might be required. And I liked this one so well that I'm actually kind of curious to see, now that I know what happened with the story, how I'll respond upon rewatching Way of Water and some of the criticisms that I had with that. Much like I'm sure back in the day when people watched Return of the Jedi, they softened on some of their stances and problems with Empire Strikes Back, or hell, even something like Age of Ultron, which at the time people were kind of hard on, but I think are a lot softer towards in a post-Endgame world. So I'm curious. This actually made me want to go back and revisit all of Pandora, and I hope to do that. The 3D, the high frame rate is extraordinary, put to phenomenal use, and there's some great performance work here from pretty much everybody across the board, but I really wanted to highlight Oona, Chaplin, and Sigourney Weaver as well. Like, she's just a gem. Let's hats off to her, and Zoe Saldana has taken ownership of this franchise all the way through, and it's deserved. This is a great film. If it's the last of the Avatar movies, which I don't think it will be, it is a satisfying conclusion. If you were to give us more Avatar movies, I'm ready for it. These movies are spellbinding visual experiences that, if theaters are to be utilized, these are the type of movies that they are for, and I think people kind of forget that. But let me know what you think of Avatar, Fire and Ash in the comment area down below. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.